The next phase in our history's lessons are regarding the non-cooperation movement. Now we are going to study this from 1920, 1921 and 1922. After the failure of the Rowlatt Act Satyagraha, Gandhi realized the need for mass mobilization, which means that he realized that what happened during the Rowlatt Satyagraha of 1919, it was limited or mostly confined to the cities and towns. And there was not much of an impact in the villages or in the rural areas. He realized the need to start a more broad-based movement, one in which every Indian could join. Gandhi also realized that mass mobilization was effective only when Hindus and Muslims were working together. Now the opportunity presented itself during the Khilafat issue. Now, the picture on the left is Mehmed the Sixth. He was the 36th and the last Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, and also the 115th Caliph of Islam. The Caliph or the Emperor of the Ottoman Caliphate was considered the leader of the Sunni Muslims. So when the Ottoman Turks lost the First World War, the Allied powers began to draw up a plan to partition Turkey. Many territories were planned to be divided among them or taken away from them. So when this happened, the suspicion among the Muslims was that when they are taking away the land or the territory of the Ottomans, perhaps they may also take away the powers, including the religious or the temporal powers. So this worry was there, or this concern, maybe a little bit of anger was there all over the world. Now in India, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March of 1919. Two brothers formed this committee, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. This was an opportunity for Gandhi to bring about Hindu-Muslim unity. Gandhi presented it to the Congress and in the Calcutta session in September 1920. So they decided on a plan to support Khilafat as well as Swaraj. Swaraj also means complete independence for India. So this was decided and it was resolved. A resolution was passed in the Calcutta session. This is West Bengal. You go in closer and there is Kolkata. The next question for a student of history is why non-cooperation? Gandhi wrote a book called Hind Swaraj. In that book, he said that British rule was established only when the Indians cooperated. So if Indians refused to cooperate, British rule in India would collapse. It would end. And Swaraj or independence would surely be there. This was the reason why non-cooperation was necessary. The why was it necessary? Now the next question is how? How could non-cooperation become a movement? Gandhi had planned it into two stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Let us look at stage 1 first. What was the plan in stage 1? The first is the surrender of titles. Next was boycott. So now they would boycott the civil services. They would also boycott the army, the police, the courts and legislative councils. Nobody would put up any case in the courts. They would also boycott the schools, or rather the government schools, or the schools supported by or controlled and managed by the British. They would also boycott foreign goods. So this was stage 1. Now what was stage 2? Stage 2 was Gandhi knew that the British would retaliate. They would give some repression. And in case the government did that, he would launch a full civil disobedience campaign. The plan was to mobilize the masses. That means not only in the towns and cities, but all over India. But India is a very diverse country. So in 1921, the movement started in January, but the meaning was different in different places. In towns, it was different. Among the peasants and tribes and the tribals, it was different. And among the plantation workers or in the villages and the rural areas, it was different. Now let us see first what happened in the towns. That in the towns, the middle classes participated very well and very enthusiastically and very energetically in the beginning. The students left the schools and colleges, the headmasters and teachers resigned, lawyers also resigned, they gave up their practices. They boycotted elections also. Elections were a kind of a big deal there. It was very important. It still is now. It's a very big deal for most Indians. And I really don't understand why. But still, then, in that particular year, they boycotted them. Foreign goods were boycotted. Liquor shops picketed. Picketed means people blocked them. They didn't allow anyone to do it, which actually is a good thing. They should continue even till now. And foreign cloth was burnt in large bonfires. But slowly in the towns, it gradually slowed down. And this was a little bit of a disappointment. In the beginning, when people are enthusiastic, they are full of energy, and they want to do something for the national cause. But later on, things slowly, less and less and less relevant. People burnt the foreign clothes, but then they realized that the handmade clothes are so expensive. How can we buy it? So they went back to buying the foreign or the British goods. They left the schools and colleges, but the locals, they didn't have proper schools and colleges of their own. So they went back to the government schools and government colleges. So as I said, different things to different people, different things in different areas. Now in Andhra Pradesh, in the Goodem Hills, the British did not allow them to utilize their own forests. So this was an opportunity to unite and to protest. The example is given of Raju. They fought the British policy of not allowing them to utilize their own forests, and unfortunately, they also used violence. Now, let's move on to Assam. The British had put a very restrictive act called the Inland Immigration Act. This was there since 1859. The plantation workers were not allowed to leave the tea gardens or the plantation areas without permission. Now, when Gandhi started this, so very enthusiastically, or rather without any fear of the British, they left the plantations. Unfortunately, that story also did not end very well. But the point is that, once again, a different story in the towns, different story in the hills of Andhra Pradesh, and another different story in Assam and the plantation workers. Now in Chauri Chaura, a very unfortunate incident happened. All this while, Gandhi was getting ready to start phase two. Remember, phase two, if the British announces repression or they do some repressive acts, he would start the next phase, that is civil disobedience. And he had already planned that he would start civil disobedience in Gujarat in a place called Bardoli. But this unfortunate Chauri Chaura incident happened. Took place on the 4th of February 1922. There was a clash with the police. A group of protesters fought the police. The police opened fire and the crowd got angry and they chased the policemen to the police station. They burned it down and all the policemen inside died. Gandhi heard about this news and immediately he went on a fast. He fasted for 5 days as penance, means as repentance, to ask for forgiveness, and he took responsibility for this act. 7 days later, Gandhi halted and he stopped the non-cooperation movement. In the meantime, about Khilafat. Remember that this non-cooperation movement was in support of Khilafat and also Swaraj, or complete independence for India. That means the Hindus and Muslims were working unitedly. That is one of the reasons why this non-cooperation movement of 1921 up to 1922 was so successful. So what happened to the Khilafat question? What happened in Turkey? In Turkey, the people of Turkey themselves, under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Pasha, Turkey was established as a secular republic. So the Khilafat question or the Khilafat issue automatically ended. Now back to India, Gandhi had already called off the non-cooperation movement. So there was no need for the Khilafat committee also to continue, whether it is for the Khilafat or for the non-cooperation. movement. But the important thing to understand in today's lesson is that Gandhi did not compromise on non-violence. When he was presented in the court, these are his actual words. He said, "It is impossible for me to disassociate." It means I cannot distance myself. I cannot ignore myself from that crime. Gandhi said, "Non-violence is the first article, the most important thing of my faith, of my belief. And I am therefore here," he tells the judge. "I submit not to a light penalty, but to the highest penalty. Give me the highest penalty that you can give me." And he tells the judge, "If you don't do that, you better resign your post." Now this was Gandhi. No compromise on non-violence. I don't think any other person or any other leader would do that.